So I'm going to bring in Stefan, who's going to be our lead this discussion. So Stefan is a vice president and board member at ImmuniWeb. Welcome, Stefan. Nicolas, who is the head of quantitative strategy at Barclays Private Bank. Andrew, a CEO of Brightside, and Achim, country manager Switzerland for Fortinet. Stefan, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So, time is like short. So, okay, to start, let's talk about the different risks in terms of trust with the use of AI. And to make it short, we are facing several issues in which a misuse or the fraudulent use of AI can lead to a breach in trust of that technology. I mean, we can mention the use by raw state of AI to interfere with the electoral process, one of the aspects we can observe in France, in US, in UK, at different levels. The use of AI to amplify misinformation on the dynamic of cognitive warfare. I mean, to try to make the opinion to change in democracy. The fact is, with democracy, we give access to social media, to everything, to every smartphone in the room. But in non-democratic country, there is a blocking of those access. And even within democratic country, we can observe that in US today, there is a use of AI to interfere within the country with the democratic process of the election. The use of AI to commit economic fraud are impacting not only the trust, but as well the economic power of a company and the purchasing power of citizens as well. And every money we lost with cybercriminality, AI, and so on, with frauds, is not just a number. It's the money we cannot invest in the country, in the service, in the goods, and so on. And the use of AI to improve the sophistication of cyber attack, making company more weak, and respectively the economic fabric and capacity of innovation, who can slow down the capacity of innovation as well. So as we can see, there is a big spectrum of risk. And that can affect trust in democracy, quality of information, economy, business operation, innovation, and purchasing power. But I want to mention as well, is really important, AI can also lead to great opportunity and help us to face those issues. And this is really important to take that into account and to find a balance. So, now, how different speakers can position themselves to the relations they have with the AI through the company or the area of activity. We are going to start with Andre. What do you think about AI? Is this a new trend, or like we are just not reinventing the wheel?
I think the instruments are becoming a little bit more sophisticated, but misinformation was there always. And the same way you can get misinformation in social networks or with spear phishing in the email. Before, 100 years ago, Hitler would airdrop chocolates before he invades some territory. So it's been a very old game, misinformation. But maybe I'll talk about it a little bit later. Right now, there are a couple of components of this information warfare which are becoming sophisticated and more automatable, and that's where I see the most risk.
Thank you, Nikolai. Is there any strategy beyond the trend of AI? How you bank, Barclays, adapting themselves to the use of AI? What is your policy, your approach, your strategy? This is a free use. How you can?
Yes, obviously very important questions for banking sector in general, right? But let's start with specific examples of misinformation and fraud, right? So that's been a major concern for banks, obviously, over decades. And a lot of systems have been developed actually using previous generations of AI to deal with this, like more analytic AI rather than generative AI. So systems or infrastructure are already in place in banks in general to fight this. And a big effort has been put into education and training of people, both internally and clients and customers, to actually effectively fight this, to remain vigilant, to remain critical, to think about information, to check whether this is the right source, to go through the right channels to confirm information. So it's a twofold, let's say, problem. So you have infrastructure or tools that are used to fight this, and the second part of that is obviously education and training that is ongoing, and obviously with new developments is moving further.
And do you think like the bank area become more fragile in terms of reputation with the use of AI and the fact AI touch directly emotion in a certain way? On the financial
yes,
market?
maybe when we speak about that aspect in particular, it's probably the use of data or potentially embedded biases and privacy shortcomings that would come with consumption of data or ingestion of data in AI systems. So obviously, that's another part that banks have been dealing with or tackling over the past decades to build their own databases to protect that data, especially, for example, in Switzerland, as we know. So that's obviously a big part of our job to protect the data. And in context of new AI systems, I guess when we think about generative AI, which is one of the big topics these days, it's more something that would be probably enterprise-led than public use Gen AI, which introduces its own challenges and new, let's say, technologies in the banks and in the systems.
Thank you very much. Achim, there is like, according to your experience, there is like a cross-functional collaboration involving different bodies of the company, like HR, cybersecurity, or still companies are using AI working in silo in a way. Can you like share some maybe example with us?
Yes, I think there must be a collaboration. The issue that we see today is AI is so new, and some youngsters try to use it, and sometimes they're not aware of the impact that it may have. And let me give you an example. Every company which is sales and marketing driven wants to be perfectionist. So if you want to be perfect, you try to use all the tools. So people typically use stuff like ChatGPT or other stuff, and they put in all their input, they get something out, and they present it internally, which is a huge risk because whatever you put in, someone reads it. So it's somewhere outside your company. And we need to make sure that people are aware of the danger of using internal data to get, even for an internal presentation, something. So that's where HR needs to come in, make it clear that, hey, there's a link between marketing, HR, and legal about what you do with the data. And it's a huge danger for any company, not only in cybersecurity. Yes, we get the internal guidance. It is not allowed to use any external tool like that and to feed it with internal data. And I think the issue that we have today is many young people are not aware what data can bring as a risk, even if they think they want to do something good.
Yeah, it seems like still some of the SME are not aware there is a difference between like a professional account and free account, and a tendency to use a free account because professional accounts have a cost, and the cost is not like stable as we can expect. So what is your experience?
Well, the experience is that we need to remind people regularly. So cyber awareness trainings are necessary, but data governance as well. So this is kind of where it's crossing one into the other. And cyber awareness trainings are the key to the start of a successful cybersecurity strategy.
Yeah, and recently the Swiss Confederation was like recommending its employee to use whatever AI tool without to make a list, and to use a professional email address, and not to recommend to use a two-factor authentication. Would you do the same recommendation to SME or the public here, or maybe will be a little bit different?
I mean, I'm absolutely shocked to hear anybody who recommends not to use MFA. MFA is the base of security. There's nothing more important and easy to put in place than MFA. You can get around any, I would say, login procedure if you don't have MFA. It is a must for every human being, and I just appeal to everybody. I know a CISO who got hacked his LinkedIn account because he didn't have MFA, and people were using his LinkedIn in-mail to send malicious links. Think about that impact on him, on the company, etc. So MFA is a must.
And there is a lot of, generative intelligence, artificial intelligence account on the dark web already.
Yes.
Andre, what about the cost and the scalability of the cyber attack increase as AI become more used, but as well, how we can use AI to fight it and to mitigate it?
Yeah, so I don't like buzzwords, so we're gonna, I'll try to deconstruct our vision in Brightside, because we design the misinformation attacks to simulate and search for risks into four kind of principal components of any misinformation attack. What I think is, first is infrastructure. So how do you receive the information? Is it through Twitter? Is it through social networks, email, phone call? Is it through press? Right, and here the change right now, which is happening, is that much more of our communication is digital. And the proportion of communication is bigger in terms of digital. Second is when we look at models, so you hear GPT-4, GPT-01, Sora, whatever, the generation quality of the model is improving, so it's harder to visually distinguish, or even using fraud detection tools, to distinguish between what's real and what's not in terms of content. And the problem is that I see that there's going to be a certain point where we cannot use content fraud detection, because right now you already can't detect if an email was generated by ChatGPT. Same will be for pixels, because video is basically a combination of pixels. The third factor that goes inside any misinformation attack is information. So you have to put data inside an AI model. It can't function without data. Any generative model needs to receive something on the input. And the change right now that we see is that LLMs, ChatGPT, they're very good at scanning huge amounts of data. For example, if you ask Perplexity or ChatGPT to search something in the internet, it indexes the first, 20 or 30 or 100 pages and gives you a result. And as a result, there's much more data being used to personalize the attacks. That's a change that wasn't there before. Before, you needed to have an actual person looking you up to make a targeted attack on you. And this means that essentially privacy becomes security. And another last thing that goes into this component of any misinformation attack, what I think is the automation of the attacks. So if we look at the majority of deepfakes generated right now, the majority of them are actually done through face transfer. So you need an actor or an original video to actually generate the deepfake. Or you need some sort of a script, so a person writing the script and making sure it works. And it's not responsive, like the deepfake can't talk back to you. And maybe I'm taking a little bit too long, but recently there's been a talk on one of the OpenAI conferences, and Sam Altman basically showed 5 levels of AI, right? The first level of AI is chatbots. That's what we all use, we all saw. The second is agents. So second is reasoning, so that's what you see with the O1, with the new model. It has chain of thought mechanics, meaning it can reason in a certain way. And third is agents. So that's a model that can perform tasks successfully, autonomously. And then you have the exploration models that do new discoveries, and then you have full organizations as an AI, that's at level 5. That's when we basically lose our jobs and we have to invent a new model of capitalism. The problem here I see is that we're still at level 2, so we're still in reasoning phase, and still you can't scale. So there's a one-to-one attack. So one attacker or one misinformation person doing it for one person. And when we hit the agent phase, basically it's going to be autonomous. It's going to be one-to-many attacks. And that's what I see as a major risk in this field.
Thank you. This leads to the problematic of misinformation. In the World Economic Forum, in its global risk report in 2024, identify misinformation as the top global risk over the 2 next year. So that means it's something really important, but it's like with a layer of AI, it's got amplified, and even amplified in the number, but amplified in the quality with deepfake, with the generation of deep voice and everything. And how we can manage, I mean, the trust of the public to the institution, to the democracy, when it's fragilized by search use. If we take as an example, recently in US for the hurricane Helen and Milton, it was like following the hurricanes. It was like a tornado of false images, like generated by AI, and a lot of people were spreading disinformation over the social media and so on. So how we can manage that, you know, at different level? What is your point of view? Like, if you can give me in 1 minute each of you, how we can protect better democracy, educate people better, and I mean, to make less stronger the impact of disinformation. Maybe
I think it's a very good question, and it starts with education of our children. Let's not fool ourselves. We are pushed into a world of omnipresence and thousands of devices, and we need to learn to step back, to take time to analyze whatever we see, whatever we do, whatever we click on, and whatever we hear and believe. And your example of the hurricane is a very good one. If you take Twitter, it's just short messages. You look at it, you've got a message, and we all know the more you repeat the message, even if it's a lie, the more people will believe it. And that was a good case. So if you take a message, you step back, you digest it, you wait, then we're all winners. And that's where we have the big danger of today. It's information overflow, and you need to pick and choose, and our nature is that, hey, it's live or die. So it's react or don't react. And we need to learn to step back, to take time, to decelerate again. That's the only thing that can save us all, on no matter which level.
Thanks. Nikolai, what is your point of view?
Yeah, I share that point of view on education. I think that's the most important aspect on this journey. I think today it was mentioned the 3 pillars of democracy: information, education, and elections. Same with free markets. You could phrase it maybe a little bit differently, but it's information, education, and free trade. So these are the important pillars of any aspect of any set of values that we have in modern day society. So education for kids, of course, for us it's on the go, because we are building the road as we walk it, right? So it's something completely new for us. For our generation, maybe it's we did not suffer so much with the invention of internet and all the web-based content, but we are suffering now maybe a bit with Gen AI. Maybe our kids will accept that easier, but they will have to be educated on something else. So the acceleration is there for any generation, and I think we just have to embed this more into our educational system generally, and trainings at work, which is indeed happening.
Yeah, you mentioned education for kids, but sometimes grow up act like a kid with information. I mean, if especially in the financial area, the emotion lead to action on the market. Like it was a few years ago when Twitter became X and Elon Musk changed everything. It was Eli Lilly with a fake account of this company, Eli Lilly, which mentioned insulin will be free for the future. Then the stock market plunged from, like, if I remember well, 14 billion for a certain time due to this false information. How we can protect financial sector of the such like quick movement of lead by emotion and AI?
Yeah, so emotional aspect is important. So maybe just to make a connection also with investments and banking in general, right? So when people invest their money, their behavior on that journey is very important, because if markets collapse at some point or fall 20%, if you sell, leave your position, and you don't invest for another whatever number of months, most likely you will lose on the upside or on the correction, and that will hurt your portfolio permanently. So just one example. So the same here. So we need to learn to control our emotions, but we need to be guided, and ultimately we have to make decisions how we deal with this. We need to have all the guardrails, and we need to have tools that we can fight this. But obviously, This is something that is, I think the worrying part is the intensity at which these things are happening now, because it's really hard to catch up with everything. So I can tell you for myself, outside of my work at Barclays, I also teach at university, machine learning in particular. And so I'm someone who is close to that topic, but I cannot follow up with everything. So it's just the amount of information is just too much. So we need some kind of, probably, maybe the new AI developments can help us with verification of existing data. Instead of just ingesting more and more data into the system and having more parameters, maybe we go back and we verify a lot of things, because information comes in different flavors. What you want is truth, right? And that's the rarest and the most expensive kind. So maybe Gen AI and other tools that will be developed in the future can help us to verify information that is also publicly available, so that you have some kind of metrics that you can rely on this, because there is no other way for us to judge what is truth and what is not. And to your example, to add one, 10 years ago or 11 years ago, there was a fake tweet. I think a famous media company's account was hacked briefly, that there was a fire at the White House, and that at that time President Obama was hurt, so markets collapsed in a matter of hours, maybe 1 hour. It was $130 billion loss in the US only. So that's another example of overreaction. Yeah.
Thank you. Andre, but more data to process is not more dependency from the tool in certain way. How to find a balance and to be fast enough to decrease the impact of those disinformation or misinformation?
Well, I think going back to, like, if we're talking about the modern digital town halls, which are social networks, I think it's a good idea. What, for example, Musk did with open sourcing the algorithm, right? If you amplify someone's, imagine a town hall at the, I don't know, just normal town hall, and you just drop a lot of loudspeakers, or you allow anyone to come with massive loudspeakers into the town hall. People with the loudspeakers have much more chance of winning the debate. Same goes for algorithms in social networks, because the business model of a social network is to provide more virality, more attention, right? They feed on attention. X amount of hours of your attention equals X amount of dollars. So understanding those algorithms and, when necessary, proactively basically dismantling the disinformation campaign, I think is very important. Because then the defenders are racing against the people who figured out the algorithm. And I think that's, it should be open to everyone. And I think naturally the defenders will have more budgets than hackers to preliminarily do something about it.
If I may, just on understanding of algorithms, because I think it's important just to connect to finance industry. What is really important in that segment of our society, right, is that you can interpret results of any model that you have, any decision-making process. So you cannot just say that's a result of some very complex and advanced black box model, and that would be okay. No one would accept that, starting with me, right? So you want interpretation, you want explanation for the results, you want to know what are the drivers, what is the reason for a mistake, after all. So you want to know all these things. And this is where understanding of algorithms becomes very important, so that we can rely actually on the output and that we can interpret it. So once we are in that point, that means more, let's say, efficiency in the businesses. Until that point, I think it's all still in the beta phase and testing, because without interpretation, there is no moving forward for many industries, I believe.
Yeah, this highlights the importance of regulation as well. So in Europe, there is the European Democracy Action Plan, which want to improve the resilience of EU democracy faced to the disinformation. And as well, there is a EU Code of Good Practice against misinformation, but it's not binding, just a voluntary initiative. You are not forced to participate. But there is a European AI Act, which includes the fight against disinformation, impose a transparency obligation for chatbot on deepfake, and to mention the use of AI, which is really important. People have to be aware when we use AI, and forbid as well the use of AI for social scoring, or in certain areas like workplace and education, to understand or analyze emotion of people. This is kind of reason maybe why the new vocal version of ChatGPT is not available still in Europe, respectively in Switzerland. And the rules are obligatory and can lead to really heavy financial sanction. There is as well the Digital Service Act, which will force to give some transparency to the algorithm and the recommendation algorithm, in fact. And then this is a kind of regulation we really need maybe to fight the different problem we were just highlighting. But in Switzerland, sometimes we have problem to accept regulation because we are always late to join like the European regulation, like GDPR. We just recently improved our regulation in Switzerland. But do you think it's really like losing a competitive advantage to not follow the regulation, or maybe it's better for innovation to be already in a kind of privacy and transparency by design in the use of AI? What do you think?
I think transparency is necessary. You need to flag stuff that is AI created, and people need to be aware of it. I think that's just like if you buy some food, you want to know what's inside, and I think that's a good right. On the other side, regulation, I don't think it's good to overregulate, because if you overregulate, you take away creativity, and he who regulates always has something in his mind, and I think in Switzerland, we're such a free country, it's good not to be everywhere regulated.
But we are all citizens and mean users.
Yes.
And people sometimes have kids. Maybe they need like some protection, because if we don't put a framework in place.
Yeah. But still.
I'll try to address this again from finance perspective, just at that end, right?
Of course.
So those examples that come to my mind, obviously, that's what I'm thinking about most of the time. So international regulation of AI is, I guess, the only way we can get somewhere jointly. Otherwise, we are anyway in an AI race. That's not a secret, right? So with data centers, with models and everything, and those who might have supremacy at some point, so we're still maybe early stage, will probably have some other benefits from that are maybe more geopolitical and so on and so forth. So there is a international question that spills over then to the topic of inequality generally in the world. So discrepancy also between developed and emerging markets, or even frontier markets. So what will AI, even if we trust it, what will it do in terms of discrepancy? We heard some discussions today about certain countries, how it looks like and so on. So that's an important aspect. So you have to put this in the international context sort of to make it work. And the second one is, if you think about any industry, and again, banking or finance, let's say we trust AI, when you use models, we can never fully trust, so there is a space for a mistake, and everyone starts using similar models, and they're not transparent. We end up in a place where systemic risk in the system, so systemic risk increases, and basically we have a lot of financial system fragility, and that's where regulators need to step in. So those are two examples where I believe regulation is very important, but obviously one cannot go all the way because creativity is choked completely. Yeah.
Okay. What is your...
I think two points. First, I think you can't regulate hackers or misinformation guys who are outside of the country. That's one. It's very important to remember. Like, we can regulate ourselves, but if the guy's not here and he sends something, we can't do anything about it. And secondly, I think Switzerland has two key components to its prospering economy, apart from democracy and the political institutions and stability. I think it's being a good intermediary and being a high-tech nation. So adding a lot of cost, like having a big margin, because we all have high salaries compared to other countries, and we need to keep this high margin, high added value. And if the regulation even gets us not the next GPT, but we have to use the old one, and if some other country uses, or some other companies, right, uses this advantage to be better at something than the Swiss manufacturing, or luxury watches, whatever, technology, we could lose this competitive advantage. So I think it's very important to, yes, regulate, maybe in moderation, but not forget that we are a high value added economy, which is important to augment with AI.
Okay, thank you very much. We are going to go at the conclusion, and will be your advice in a really short way for the public in the use of AI and to improve the trust in the AI, because the technology can provide a lot of opportunity as well.
But 2 words: decelerate, step back.
Yeah, it was short. Thank you very much.
Then I go with 3 words: education, education, education.
Yeah, Andre?
Accelerate as fast as possible. Just let's go. Be better than everyone else.
Okay, so I will maybe keep the last word because I'm acting, sometimes I'm doing like a training in school, and what I can observe today is like there is not enough time for education and media literacy. There is no control of the level of knowledge in digital literacy. That means we should have exam because it's a really important area. So companies have to be able to assess the level of knowledge. And what is like several countries have made like a kind of body to try to manage informational attack. Like in France, there is a Viginum. And Viginum is a structure to proceed at the cognitive warfare, disinformation warfare, and whatever. And we don't have similar structure in Switzerland, and maybe we need to set this such structure. And to finish, we have a few seconds at the end. I think for me, like regulation is important. Cyber criminals never follow law, whatever, you know. So maybe it's important for companies, it's important for people, it's important for the use of our data, and to provide a better system in the future.
That is why international aspect of it is very important.
Yeah.
Back to.
So thank you very much to everyone for your input and so on. And we just finished at 30 minutes, so congratulations for that as well.
Thank you. Thank you.